All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Vigil team call. I'm grateful that for all the messages I got yesterday. Thank you guys. Thank you all for that. And guys, last week was one of those weeks as agency owners that, we are appreciative of, right? So this is where we were at, guys, pre-COVID. So, the numbers that you guys did last week are just phenomenal. You guys blew it off the roof. We did what we did last week as a team, uncapped, is what we did all of February. So if that tells you guys anything, that tells you that the flywheel is starting to crank, right? So if you guys have read Good to Great, getting that momentum going, Big Mo, we can feel it going, right? So last week we had 2 new riders. So I want to give those shout outs. First one is to Nicole Aldrich with 1,300 APV on a single application, and then Justine knocking it out of the park, man, with 5 applications for 3,011 APV. She is direct to Shania and the Avila team. And guys, that was just awesome. So I'm going to just share my screen here and show you guys the numbers. I like to be as transparent as possible. So this is how I see my report for last week, guys. This is capped, and then I'll click on the uncapped here in a second. So number 8 was Shania getting her requirement in for slingshot, right, Shania? 593. She just needs one more app this week, guys, this month to get her requirement done for slingshot. Nicole with 1 app for 1,300. Justine again with 5 apps for 3,011. Jama with 2 apps for 3,159. Maritza, who's directed Jama, 3,264. Miss Brenda King with 4 apps for 3,988. Myself with 1 for 5,093. And Matt Avila capped at 7,500, and it was what, like 12,000, Matt? 12,500 and something. It was a $250,000 annuity rollover. So great job on that, guys. And so as you guys know, the theme this month is Brenda and Shania have volunteered to lead everyone through through the struggles that we go through as an agent on a daily basis, right? So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Brenda and Miss Shania and let you guys roll with it.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael, for showing numbers. It's always fun when, like you said, when people get going and people start writing business and let the competition begin. That's what I see right away is like, all right, I'm not letting, I'm 3rd place, not this week kind of a thing. So hopefully that
And don't worry, the gap this week between you and me ain't going to be that big.
yeah. So one thing we kind of wanted to talk in again on this week is kind of pulling everything in that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks is metrics and expectations. I feel like we've gotten a lot of questions on that directly to me and Shania after our trainings, and just with people's questions on, expectations and metrics on what that looks like and kind of how that pulls in with everything. So we kind of did some back-end homework with a couple different things. Both me and Shania reached out to multiple different people within the Cambrel 130 who have been doing very well and whose names have kind of been stretched all over all the top leaderboards. Why we wanted to do that is just to kind of show and make people realize that what they're doing is nothing special. They're just doing a lot more of it. And so 2 things that was very common that everyone kind of touched on was 2 different forms that we should reference. I personally I haven't printed out, I haven't really looked over them, and I should probably be more diligent about that. The first one is going to be the 4 cornerstones. And then the second one is the 4 keys to a successful week. And so I wanted to do a screen share here and show those. So the first one is, the 4 cornerstones to a successful week, I think is what it says at the top. So, and this is really important because it just pretty much goes over exactly what we do as, agents and really what we should follow. First one, believe in what we're selling. Michael always, I know, has been big on that. If you don't have a policy of your own, you're not really emphasizing on what you're trying to get a client. If you don't believe in having your own, then why would a client believe you in trying to get a policy? So yeah, believe in what you're selling. The second one, and I think this is,
hold on, I'm gonna touch base on that one really quick. I'm sorry, but like for that one as well, like it's important to believe in what you're selling, because if you have the product, that means that one, you know the ins and outs of it. Two, you can relate with your client and say, this is the exact same product that I'm using to protect my family, because your family is utmost important. So there's more in just like believing and having the product. There's like so much more behind that. Continue.
so then the second one, and this is almost something that we work on a day-to-day, is work and counsel through MACC, which is massive action, constant correction. So you always want to be diligent about our metrics. So, our dial ratios, our contact ratios, our appointment ratios, show ratios, everything like that. Because without those numbers, we really have no idea what anyone is doing, or even for your self-tracking, you have no idea. You could feel like you're doing work all day long when really you're not doing anything. Self-improvement, the commitment to ongoing self-improvement. I know we touched heavily on that last week. And that is a common thing that majority of everyone talks about. I was on Jim Larson's call this morning, and that's something that he was talking about, is if you don't constantly improve yourself here, whatever else you do, it never is going to matter, because you're never going to outdo what you say in your brain. And so, he was very, very impactful about saying that, like, we always have to be working on ourselves before we can do anything else, whether it's business related, relationship related, life related, children, family, whatever it looks like. We always have to be improving ourselves in order to be there for others. And then, of course, associate with the right people. That another one is kind of always been popping up in a lot of the books I've been reading. Everyone always emphasizes, like, you are who you hang around with. And so if you're not doing the right things, or the right habits, things like that, start associating with the people who are, and it'll get you a lot further. And then the second one was the 4 keys to a successful work week. And this is kind of really where we kind of tapped into the people that we reached out to, just to kind of get their input on what they're doing for their successful weeks, because obviously they're having very high successful weeks. So first of all, resources. Me and Shania have both been tapping into using new fresh leads as our resources. I know in this agency, Michael's always emphasized on making sure we start with B leads, just so that way you can, get used to that, but you need to have enough of those resources to make it beneficial for you in your long-term goals and your long-term game. Activity, making sure that you're always, putting forth the activity that you need to do in order to reach the goals that you're trying to, accomplish. Without any activity, you're not going to get anything. It doesn't matter how many resources you have. You have to have equals of both. Schedule. We've touched on schedule, I think, every day for the last couple weeks. And it's just emphasizing again, like, how important it is to have a schedule, to follow a schedule, and kind of just to be the, have it dictate everything that you do is really gonna, make it for success. And then a system. And obviously, Symmetry has a beautiful system and everything that we need for it, but it's just following the scripts, following the guidelines, following the PowerPoint presentations, whatever that looks like for when you're speaking with your clients, but it's just using the system and not trying to recreate it. So I hope everyone, and these are all in HQ. And so if you need to go find them, I definitely recommend finding them, reprinting them, and kind of holding them close to you to kind of reference, just because, again, like, everything we do is duplicatable. So if the people who are being successful here emphasize these two, these two things, I definitely recommend that everyone should kind of make it their new, your new go-to for everything. The one thing that, I kind of wanted to touch on is the people. I reached out to a couple different people. One of them was Anthony Mendocino. So he's been on the top leaderboards for a while. And I think he's already almost at 28,000 for the month with like 26 or 27 applications, and he does that consistently. But the one reason why I wanted to reach out to him to kind of pick his brain to kind of share what he does is because when he first started, because I think we started near the same time, he started with B leads and he went through a struggle. I remember talking with him and he kind of, emphasizing that how hard it was, how boring it was, how frustrating it was. But he told me that, he was making 200 to 300 dials a week religiously, like no matter what. He was buying leads consistently, even though they were B leads, he was buying leads consistently, like no matter what. And so he was always doing, following those cornerstones, making sure he had everything like that, and then was able to work his way up to where he's at now. And so now, he's doing about, $800 to $1,000 a week in leads, which is getting him, about 10 A leads and 15 call-in leads. So it's a high influx of leads, but he's worked his way up that. Like he's gone through the trenches, he's gone through, all the struggles, and he's had that income come in to where now he can do that. But when he started, he had to start with like 50-cent leads, or, now it would be they're those B5 leads. And so everyone has to start at square bottom just to practice and kind of move through that. And I asked him kind of what he does on a dial weekly goal now, just because me and Shania keep track of our stuff and what that looks like on a weekly basis. And the kind of things that he said is he doesn't have a dial goal, he has an appointment goal. So he dials until he gets 12 to 15 appointments. So some weeks that could be, a simple 100 dials if he has, good leads, or, is adamant about how he's dialing, how he's speaking on the phone. Or it could be 200 to 300 dials if he's not getting, the appointment set that he needs, but he will not stop until he gets a minimum of 12 appointments. And then it looks like Shania's messing with the babies. So, you're muted.
I was right here just turning on the TV for the girls. Because I was going to touch base and talk about Sierra Smith, because I reached out to Sierra Smith. I thanked her for her time with helping us, because I really think that helped our mindset as well, helped reset us. But she really said the exact same thing as Anthony did. She had said, and I'm literally reading her email, she says, I was really bad with B lead, but the most important thing is I worked through the trenches, so I earned my spot with A leads. I was consistent, and that's what mattered. I did not make a single sale the first 3 months I was here when I was only working B leads, but I did not have the confidence to start working A leads till I knew I made it through the trenches with the B leads. And she had said she was dialing in no less than 200 dials a week when she first started, and then she's to this day says that she usually still sticks around 200 to 300 dials a week. And now we talked to her, and now she's doing 15 A leads, she said, right? Because her commissions her commissions higher, so she does less leads, and she has a team now, so it's a lot different, but she still does that. But I think that also ties back to what we were talking about, how if you haven't made the 1,000 dials of B leads, then you're not actually prepared to dial the A leads, because they're going to ask more questions. And then think about it, if you don't know how to answer these questions and you lose that lead, that kind of takes a lead out of the pipeline for someone else that has earned that spot to call those A leads. Because other people have gone through the trenches, they've put in the work to earn that spot for A leads. So if you haven't done at least 1,000 dials for B leads, then don't waste that A lead.
And also,
I'm gonna speak. I was gonna say, and I'm gonna speak on that too real quick. So, our A leads, right, or our new leads are going to be a dynamic distribution system very soon. So if you don't have the metrics from your B leads, you're not going to be able to qualify for A leads or for the fresh leads, right? And what they're going to do is they're going to qualify the type of leads that you get based on how you close those. So if you do really well with women 45 to 65 years old in New Jersey, those are the types of leads that you're going to get allocated to you. So they're going to look at all those little metrics. So getting those reps in B leads, guys, yeah, does it suck? Yes, embrace the suck, right? I mean, that and that's a good motto to have, embrace the suck, because you have to put in those reps. Matt, TI, every single day for 2 hours, Monday through Friday for a whole year. That's all we did. Every single day, so thank you, ladies.
Well, and I think that also, like, to kind of just touch base really quick, since we're kind of talking metrics, we all know that Matt is our unicorn here, and he does mostly referrals instead of leads, but I'm sure he still tracks his metrics and he still has his minimal dials, he still has his minimal contacts and all of that. Like, what would you say that your contact ratio is with how many dials you make, Matt?
With mine, I still stick to and Ti and Michael are gonna know this. I mean, like the back of their hand. I still stick to the algorithm. 40 dials a day, right? It's 40 dials a day, 10 contacts. 5 will actually say yes to a meeting. 3 will actually come to a meeting, and more likely one of them is a client. So if you really kind of think about it, one application or one client comes out of 40 phone calls, right? But what I transitioned on into is new people. So I need to get 5 new names from my people a day. Or if I don't get that, I have to leave my apartment and go get it myself. So even though the leads are there, right, there's that option. You can just jump online and purchase 40 of them, 50 of them, whatever it may be. I gotta throw a 3-piece suit on and walk this city like, shaking hands and kissing babies, and to be honest, I don't really enjoy that anymore, but it's what I do, and so it's the numbers. It's a numbers game. You have to do it, and you have to embrace the suck, just like Michael said.
But that's like kind of just as time consuming, you would say, is putting on your 3-piece suit, hitting the streets, as it is to just dial the leads at home.
100%, 100%. Because not only you think about it, right? You guys are investing in leads, right? Whatever that may be, that could be $600. I mean, it could be very drastic, big bill. Dress nice. I invested in a suit. I invested into driving to my destination. I invested into walking around for 3 hours or so. Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, right? But it's just a system that is going and working, and I don't recommend it for everybody, right? But it's just it's just the flow for me right now. So yeah, I mean, we gotta invest. You just hit the nail on the head right there, Michael. These are an investment in your business,
And that was one thing I wanted to kind of backtrack on too, is, Shania said is like, you're taking if you buy an A lead and you're not fully prepared or knowledge or experience, yes, to help that lead, you're also doing a disservice to that client too. Because, they came in requesting information, and if we're not fully knowledged on presentation or, the verbiage, anything like that, then they might be confused more than not willing to buy. And everyone says that a confused mind won't buy, and it's not a matter of them not wanting the product. It's maybe just we didn't do our homework well enough. We haven't practiced well enough. We haven't gone through a presentation well enough to fully explain the options that are available to this client. So in the long run, I mean, you're taking a lead that's, someone worked hard for by going through the trenches, like Shania said, but also doing a disservice to that client because now they have no coverage due to our lack of experience.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree with that. And that's what I was also going to say too, is like, I remember I was telling you, Brenda, that like when I was buying A leads and C1 leads, about like a year ago, right, Michael? It's been probably about a year.
Yeah.
Like, I was terrified to bite the bullet to pay for those because I didn't think that I knew it all. And, I was closing some, I was doing really good with them, I was happy with them. But like looking back now, I was like, man, I didn't know quite as much as I thought that I did. Like, not near as much as I thought I did when I was doing them then. And I was like, man, if I had the knowledge now when I was dialing those leads, like, imagine the difference. And it's a total different confidence game now. But I've kind of been through the trenches, like, I'm working my way through digital leads and working my way through some B leads. And I'm going to admit, B leads suck. I hate them. I cannot stand them. But I also wouldn't have the knowledge that I do now if I wasn't there and I didn't like do them.
Yeah.
But we were talking about that the other day. So I know, sorry, that was off track, but.
And Shania, on that point though, what was the one thing I kept encouraging you to do when you got those A leads? It was make the appointment and then set time, right?
Yeah.
Set time with me or Matt
Yeah.
to do the casework.
To
And
casework.
because it's hard, guys. Like, and we don't
It
shy
was
away from
huge.
that.
Like, fill out the financial form and then book a time with us. Like, that's what it was. Fill out the financial form and then find a time with us, because that's where you're going to be able to sit down and ask your questions and figure out, like, okay, I need to go here. I need to go here. This person is 52, isn't going to qualify for this. 70 isn't going to qualify for this. And you can work it out loud without seeming confused in front of the client.
Yep. And I mean, I think, there's a portion of that we never become proficient in everything. Cause I mean, I think I
Yes.
messaged Matt just yesterday, day before or
Me
something,
too.
a question on a client. Like me and Shania bounce, be like, wait, is this okay for this? Or is that okay? What should I do for that? Like we're always bouncing ideas off of each other, confirming what we think before we actually take action on it. So I mean, no one's going to be 100% proficient, but we're not having to ask, every little detail for every little client. We've become proficient enough in being able to, what's right for what client. And then, yeah, there's always going to be those oddballs out for anybody. I'm sure, Michael and Matt still have cases where they're like, never had
Poor
that
Val.
one.
Michael said Val still calls me after 7 years. Leave Val alone. She don't feel good.
No, and I'm just saying, you know what I mean? That's what I mean is that she verifies, you know what I mean? She trusts, it's that saying, right? Trust, but verify. You can trust your mind and what you remember, but verify with someone else or a tool that we have available to you. That's why SFG quotes and the resources exists.
And things are changing, like I had messaged Brenda the other day, or maybe she had messaged me, I don't remember, but we were like in an appointment with someone and we were like, shoot, diabetic, age, this, type 2 diabetes, taking insulin, is an IUL going to work or not? I can't remember. And it's like, sometimes those things just like leave your mind and you have to go back, but product also changes. Like IULs for Moo used to be, you can't be a diabetic before the age of 55, or was it 50? See, I don't even know. 50. And now they changed it to 45. And so it's like products changing and things are changing, that it's hard to keep track of everything, but someone here is going to know the answer. You just got to figure out who.
Well, and that goes back to the whole word of the year last year, right? Engaging, because and I get it, we're all busy, right? But that's the beautiful part about where we're at with this company is you have the freedom to actually sit at home and do nothing, but you actually have the freedom to sit at home and work your butt off and make good money.
Correct.
So when you engage, right? Like, I mean, any some sort of training huddle conversation with anybody, you don't even have to just be here. I mean, there's so many resources that are out there, but don't think that you have to be on every single one, because the reason that they're there is because we are at home, myself, Ti, and Michael, we didn't have that option when we started. We were in an office from 7 a.m. till sometimes 9 p.m. We didn't have lives, so like, and that was the thing, is like you had to be there, and if you weren't there, you actually got locked out, so that was kind of like, and then everybody kind of watched you stand through the window. So that was one of those things.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, so like here, there's so many resources that are there, right, which could actually be overwhelming. So kind of pick and choose which ones that are going to fit into your schedule and you want to learn on. That's
But I think the massive action, constant correction thing works in multiple ways, like I'm home with my kids, and I've been home with my kids since I started this. And I was talking to Matt about this yesterday, that shoot, I remember when I first started dialing, I had 2 hours to dial because that was when Riley was sleeping. Like she was still a baby. I had literally 2 hours. I would lay her down, I would grab the baby monitor, and I would go to town to figure out how I can get that much work done in that amount of time, because I had 2 hours a day and that was it. And I was dialing the 50-cent leads because that's all I could afford. And I was like, I'm going to just dial. Like this is all I got. And I had to make it work until I had income to make it work. And even now, like back then I had to like correct what we were doing. And even there was some times where Dom would get home from work and I'm like, great, here's a kid, I'm dialing, like I'm out of here. Here's a Saturday, I'm dialing, like here, bye. Like we had to adjust. But I think about even now, like now I have 2 kids and I'm home with them, and I can't even tell you how many times I've been on the phone with a client and both my kids are screaming, like absolutely screaming in the background. And I'm telling a client, I'm so sorry. Like I work from home. They're home with me today. Like I apologize. And not a single client has ever told me like, oh my gosh, you work with your kid at home? Like that's so unprofessional. I'm not going to talk to you. Like all of them have been like, how old are your kids? I love kids. Like take care of them and all of that. And I think it's like the massive action, constant correction, because I've even like had them like, okay, mom's on a meeting. We can't do this. And it's gotten better. And I was telling Brenda that literally the other day, I was sitting here at my computer. I only had one AirPod in, and I was doing something. I was not on a phone, like dialing someone, but I was doing like something with work at my computer. I think it was casework or something. And I hear something in the kitchen, like completely fall and everywhere. So I go running in there, and Riley had spilt water. She was getting herself water from the fridge. And I was like, why didn't you ask me for help? And she was like, I couldn't. You're on a meeting. And it's like, that was like kind of like, well, look, all of the correction that I did that she knows that I'm working now has like paid off, because I'm like, yes, unfortunately she dropped something and that's not what I want. But at the same time, it was a win, because I'm like, she knows that now I'm in a meeting and I can't turn around right away. If it's an emergency, yes, of course, but I can't just do every little thing for her because I am in a meeting, I'm working from home. And it's like that constant correction of doing it and changing how we're doing it has really made a difference in how I work. I know that was off subject. I'm sorry. Sorry.
No, but I mean, but it's not, because, it was all about, delegation and setting to a schedule and expectations of the family. And, a lot of us, have that just because we work at home doesn't mean that we, can do everything around the house all day long either. And so, whether that's quote unquote training your kids or your spouse or whatever that looks like, that's still a matter of, setting the expectations and setting a schedule and having everybody follow to it and stick to it or have respect towards it.
And I think kind of I'm a requirement type of guy. I know Shania, and well, the majority of you guys know about this, but like Shania, we talk a lot with my requirements. With me, I have to set a requirement of submitting $50 a day. That's my requirement, guys. Like, I mean, whether if it's guaranteed advantage, $50, which is 600 APV, right? Term Life Express, an IUL, whatever it is, it has to be a minimum of 600 APV. And so all it is $50 a month for a client. And that's my requirement though. Like that's not my goal. So, and the only reason I have it like that is because I just have a different mindset of what motivates me. So to me, it's kind of like the carrot and the stick. I have to do this to actually accomplish something to give myself, you know? So it could be different. For me, I want to reward myself with money in a savings account for two things that I like to purchase, you know? So like I have two savings account, one's for tattoos and one's for suits, right? So like if I don't submit that, I don't get rewarded. So that's my thing. And just think about it. Like, I'm so sorry to kind of go off track again, guys, but if you guys have a calculator and you type in, $50 times 12, that's 600, right? That's 600 APV. And you times that by 75%, which is the nine months, which is 450. And then let's just say 80% is your commission. You're taking home $360 on that case. So that's, let's just say you
And
only do
that's
that.
a day.
That's a
That's a
day.
day.
I got clients that bust their butt out there for 8 hours, 10 hours a day for maybe 150. And we just did that in one case, so we technically could have did that in an hour, so you can calculate, yes, I'm $360 an hour, or, then you can calculate your dial time, things like that. Right. But the thing is that's one case, this can be a beautiful thing. And and I preach it over and over again. Make I mean, and me as a solo dude, right? Like I don't have joint accounts, but I have another account where my commissions go through. So even though I made 360, right? The business account made 360, not me. So I have to pay myself on the 1st and 15th, just like everybody else. Because guys, I mean, golly, the activity that you can do over and over again and build that buffer. I mean,
But I think that that also is a good idea to have that, because you're not going to be a huge spender. Because when you put a majority of your income into an account, and that's where you use to buy leads, you use to pay for a computer, you use to pay for internet, like stuff to actually run your business, and you pay yourself to the side of it, you're not getting a check for $500 and then going to go buy new tattoos. You have to save for those tattoos. Like you're not just blowing that huge check at Ruth Chris. Like, you know, it's like you're making the correction that this is what I need to live on, this is what I need to run my business, and I gotta meet somewhere in the middle.
to me, that $9 children's whole life policy from Mutual of Omaha is the exact same one I did. To me, it's the same thing as that rollover that I did last week, right? I don't
Yeah.
see it. It goes into the other account, right? So I don't see it.
Yep.
That's the thing. And I mean, like you say you don't want to spend. I mean, shit. When I lost my mom, I didn't get off my couch for 6 months, much less call anybody. And I still had income because of that, you know? Like I
Yeah,
did
exactly.
nothing, you know? I didn't even eat. If it wasn't for the Symmetry family sending me DoorDash and Uber Eats at times, I probably didn't eat that day. That's how down I was. So but I had income coming in because I didn't overspend. And if I could live off of 3,000 a month, why do I need to pay myself 10?
Well,
Yep.
imagine $10,000 in tattoos, Matt.
I'm already running out of space.
I was like,
And
you'd be head to toe.
and I'm not getting any taller, so
You're not gaining realty here.
no, there's no real estate over here. So.
That's funny.
Um,
Yeah, and I think it, like Matt said, it's just being diligent about, I think it also turns into your goals, right? I mean, if your goal is to have a self-sustaining income, then it all starts with saving, because as we know with this, there's always going to be highs and lows. So some weeks are good, some weeks are bad. But if you're, being diligent and averaging everything, then a low week won't matter, because a high week and a low week keeps your average of what you need to keep it at.
but I think the biggest thing is setting the expectation for yourself.
Yeah.
Because we can tell you all day like what we do, but until you sit down and you realize what you can do, like that's where it's going to come into play, like I said, at first I had 2 hours a day to dial as much as I could to try and make any form of income, and that's what I had to take advantage of, is those 2 hours a day. And yeah, it was slow at first. Like I wasn't in an insurance business, I was in finance. Like I knew how to manage people's money, but I didn't know about insurance. And I had to take that 2 hours that I had while Riley was napping to just grind.
Yeah.
And, but that's what I took advantage of. And just like Sierra Smith was doing this part-time, she said, when she came in and she was dialing those leads, and she was like, this is the time that I had to dial, and I had to hit 200 to 300 dials a week. That was my minimum. And so she's like, I had to take advantage of that. Just like even Brenda being full-time, like she has her allot schedule where she has to dial, and her being full-time, her minimum is 300 dials a week. And no, we may not all hit that, because now we're kind of at an area where we have a minimum that we need to make monthly. And when our appointments hit that, we are good. But we've also gotten to the point where we can book more appointments off of the dials that we make. At first I was getting maybe 2 appointments off of my dials in that 2 hours block, because I had no idea what I was doing. And now it's different, like now we are structured different, but shoot, we've put in the time, And I do want to touch on the fact that like we weren't always consistent over these last 2.5 years. Like, and Brenda started a little bit before me. So that's where it's kind of like we're kind of toe and toe here, but we weren't always consistent, you know, like right before I had Haley, my pregnancy was absolutely horrible. And I literally was on my deathbed, I felt like, and I didn't work at all. And then after I had Haley, I thought I was going to bounce back and I was going to be able to adjust with the 2 kids and it was all going to be fine and dandy. And I got slapped in the face. Like, no, that wasn't reality. And I took some time off. Matt just said he took some time off. Like, we have not been consistent writers over the last 2.5 years. Matt, for the last 10. Yeah.
I'm old.
Okay. I was like, was it 10 or was it not 10? No one's confirming with me.
Yeah.
And but I think that that's also the joy of this business, you know, like you had said, like you can take that break and it's there, but you've also earned that spot to take that break, you know. Even when I took the months off, I necessarily didn't earn that because I didn't have any of the money in the thing, but I also didn't really have a choice at that point. Like I was drowning myself. But Brenda took some time off when she had moved, you know, like we are not consistent as we should be. And it's like a realization for us too that we can't expect to have these top producer money if we're not willing to make the consistent top producer time.
Yeah.
And that's even a realization for us is we have to adjust our mindset and we have to adjust our expectations in ourselves that if we want to be $1 million producer, we have to put in the $1 million producer time.
Yep. And I think, you know, also, and it ties back to, you know, the mindset, and that's so repeated on everything. And, you know, pretty much everyone says that too, is the person you are that got you to where you're here is not the person that you need to be to get you where you want to go. And so if you want to, you know, if we want to be $1 million producers, Brenda now is not $1 million producer. Brenda has to get better in multiple realms of things to be that person. Will it get there? Yes. But I mean, it's going to have to be a completely different Brenda than what I am right now. And so that's going to, you know, of course, come with the, you know, the growth and the improvement and everything that takes to get there. But, you know, thinking like the $1 million Brenda is what's going to get me there, not like the, you know, W-2, you know, past life Brenda. It's the, you know, forward, what would $1 million Brenda's schedule look like? And what would, you know, $1 million Brenda's, you know, habits look like and everything like that. That's the, you know, the mindset of where you have to be with it is live into the person that you need to become.
And it's kind of funny that you say that because like putting it in the air and putting it out there is like literally like what we've been trying to do. Like Dominic asked me like, hey, because he's in a new D-League softball tournament, he thinks he's all professional. And he has this competition, like the biggest competition for them is in Orlando this year. And so he's like thinking like, yes, I'm taking Shayna to Disney World. I get to go to a softball tournament. Like this is the best of both worlds here. She will let me go because we're going to go to Disney World. And so I'm like, yeah, when is it? And he was like, oh, it's September 12th and 13th. And I was like, ooh, bummer, can't go. And he was like, what? Why? And I was like, well, we were supposed to be in Denver, but now I'm going to be in Denver, I'm sure, because you're going to go to Orlando. And he's like, well, for what? And I was like, because I'm going to be $1 million producer. And I'm going to Denver so I can become $1 million producer. I was like, you can go to Orlando to be your one step down from MLB, like whatever it is. And he was like, $1 million producer. He's like, where's that kind of money? And I was like, I'm putting it in the air because this is going to happen. It's going to happen. What were you going to say, Michael? Sorry.
No, and I'm glad you guys mentioned that, right? Like you have to be, you have to grow into the person that you want to be. And, you know, I get questions from new recruits all the time. They're like, well, why don't I see you as a $25,000 producer? And who knows why I'm not a $25,000 producer? Brenda, Shania, Matt. Because where do I put my value right now?
Us.
I put my value into, no, not, and I do not as much as you guys think I
was
would.
Say your family.
Exactly, right? Like I don't want to miss anything. And in order for me to be that producer, I have to meet my clients where they're at, right? And to meet my clients where they're at is at times when my kids, family takes more importance, right?
Yeah.
Val does the same thing, right? She takes those seasons off to do theater, you know. Val, you've been here long enough. Brenda's been here. Shania's seen when Caleb is not busy with baseball or stuff like that. What do? I go, right? I go right back up there, 18, 20, 25,000, no problem. And then I taper back down, and I'm comfortable with that. And I want everyone to understand that, like, be where you want to be or grow into who you want to be. When I'm ready to turn it on and be a $50,000 a month producer, guys, by all means, I can, right? Like, I don't want that from me right now. I want to enjoy every precious moment I have with my kids. And that's why I'm at Symmetry. And I want everyone to understand that, right? Like, I don't need to be on every single leaderboard. I did it for my first 3 years here. Trust me, it was great. It was all well and good. You know, it's helped me stay where I'm at currently and be able to continue to grow the agency. And that's what I love seeing, is that this team is starting to grow again and everyone is in their own elements. I don't have
Well, and I
mandates,
think
right? I want you guys to know that
Yeah.
I don't have mandates.
Well, and that's what I was kind of talking with Dominic about the other day. Is I was like, Riley's starting T-ball. Like, she literally had her first practice ever on Thursday, and I was like, man, it starts at 5 o'clock. I was like, if I was working at the bank, there's no way I would have been able to make her practice at all. Even by the time I got home, her practice would have been over.
Yep.
And I was sitting there thinking, and I was like, well, shoot, like, it's on Thursdays, and Thursdays are my extreme dial days. Like, those are my extreme, I'm dialing till late, running appointments till late. And so I'm like, shoot, how am I going to make these practices? And then Brenda was like, take your stuff with you. And I was like, 100%. Like, I can sit off onto the side. I can watch my daughter play T-ball, and I could be making my dials. I can be doing my appointments with me on the go. And I'm like, that's what's so great. And I can tell the client, you know, like, I'm here watching my daughter play T-ball, but I'm also helping you protect your family. Like, that's the kind of job that I have. And it's that, like, brings happiness to me, because that's the whole point of me being a stay-at-home mom, is I want to be in every aspect of my kid's life. But I also want to make an income. And with this, like, I get the best of both worlds, but I have to be diligent. That, no, I'm not going to say, you know what, Thursdays are practice, I'm going to have to miss dials this week because I'm going to go to her practice. Like, massive action, constant correction. I corrected my work area so I can make both things happen.
If you guys know Alexandria Nolan, Layla played soccer on Saturdays, every Saturday. Alex would sit in her car. She would get there. They would get there early, particularly early, park her car up on the hill right behind where she could see the entire field. And she would dial, and she would do it live on Facebook, just like I used to. And she would make her dials while her daughter was playing soccer, and she didn't miss anything, you know?
Yep.
So there's really no excuse.
And I think that that's one thing too, that, like, I told Brenda, like, these are excuses, but are they manageable? Like, can you make them not into an excuse and to make it actually work? And that was the thing, is I was like, Riley's T-ball, like, I gotta go. Like, I want to be there. I'm the person that, like, I'm FOMO, like, fear of missing out. Like, I have to be there for everything. And so I was like, I'm not missing a single practice. But then I'm like, no, I need to work, and I've dedicated this time to working. So her T-ball is not an excuse for me not to work. I got to figure out how to work and watch T-ball.
Well, I think we hit those breakthroughs as people. I know you guys talked about it last week about being growing personally, right? Like, Brenda and you and I were very similar. We weren't much of readers, right, at the beginning. Or I mean, at the beginning of Symmetry, I just didn't. I know I wasn't a reader in life. I was not. That wasn't me. I think we just kind
Beginning of anything I never read.
yeah. For me, yeah, it wasn't a playbook. It wasn't a book, for me. And like last night, I kind of had like a little breakthrough personally, because I got a phone call, and I got called back to football, and I got called back to arena football, and I had peace in my heart by saying no,
Wow.
That's
because
called JOMO. If you ask Brian Williamson, the joy of missing out.
yeah, like
Oh, there you go.
it was something for me where
I
I
need
was
some of
like,
that.
it was like, man, I kind of miss it, right? But then when the opportunity came to actually do it again, I thought, no, I'm not there anymore. That ain't my life no more. you know, so that was a big thing for me to where like you guys don't want to, like Shania don't want to miss out on her kiddos, you know, Justine, Michael, you know, like you guys, like Val, you guys have kids that you don't want to miss out on. You know, myself, Ti, you know, well, Gloria's kiddos are grown, you know, but Brenda, like we don't have kids. So I think we're at that point where we're kind of just more on the mental personal side where we want to go up, you know, and just better ourselves, or be the mentor who is looking up to us. Because even though I don't have two, you know, I don't have little ones, I got two nieces, and Shania, you know, those two are those are my world.
Those there are your kids.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm girl uncle all the way, you know, and that's my
I'm gonna make
motivation.
you a shirt that says Grunkle.
Brenda, Shania, did you guys have anything else?
No, yeah, pretty much what we wanted to kind of, touch
If
base
anyone
on.
had any questions, we can stop recording, and if anyone has casework or wants to ask questions.
Yeah, let's leave the recording button for just 1 second. And then I'll stop it after that. I'm going to switch gears a little bit and kind of bring up an opportunity for a free conference ticket. So March
Bring it
Madness is
on.
on, right? March Madness is here.
Ugh,
I thought
No
it'd
one
be
likes
fun.
basketball.
I thought it'd be fun for us to do a bracket, right? We could do a men's bracket and a women's bracket, not like Shania and Brenda versus the rest of everyone, right? More like we do give you guys an opportunity to win 2 conference tickets. Do a men's bracket and a women's bracket, and I'll put together a Vigil agency group, and then I'll send out the link. Whoever wins the bracket from our group, men and women would receive a conference ticket, right? But there's two things, okay? There is a $10 buy-in, right, from everyone. That's $10, right, to win a $200 ticket, or actually it's $249. That was pre-conference, or that was early bird pricing was $200. So $10 buy-in, and this is the one that's probably going to determine if people want to do this or not. You have to submit one piece of business each week, myself included. Okay, so what do you guys think about that? Like, is that kind of cool, fun idea?
Oh yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm hitting Slingshot this month, and I'm doing it next month, so I got no choice but to write 1 week.
Whoa,
Yep.
let's go. So,
You know how much money you're gonna make trying to get a free ticket to conference?
well, that's exactly it, right? So, guys, if we look at it, it's only
I can pay for it myself, Michael.
1, 2, 3. It's only 4 weeks, guys. Championship game is on April 8th. And you can, if you know you got a policy to write on that 3rd week and you don't know if you're going to have one on the 4th week, right? Like, this isn't Slingshot where there's other rules. I'm just telling you guys, you know, so one
So many
policy a
rules.
week minimum,
Over it.
one policy a week minimum, $10 buy-in. I'll post it in WhatsApp and send out a text message. First games are tonight, though we won't count the play-in games for that, just so you guys know. Okay, it'll just be the bracket of 64. I'll set it up and we'll do it. It'll probably be on CBS or NCAA. I don't know which one we can do the groups in. I forget. Ti probably knows because he's probably in like 30 different brackets right now. And guys, I don't care. Controlled business, referral, whatever. There's no rules like Slingshot, okay? I want us to have fun again, you know, like I want to make us some green hats that say make cemetery fun again.
That'd be fun.
You know, as I said, green, great guys, not red or blue, right? Green, because it's for money. Green is for money. So let's go. All right, let me stop the recording.